Watercolor brush bristles can be made from sable, weasel, squirrel hair, goat hair, ox, or even camel or pony hair. Maybe you're feeling a little bit confused by all the choices in brush types. Possibly you're asking, why are there so many choices? And does it really make a difference what the bristles of the brush are made from? In this video, I want to cut through the confusion and give you a brief primer on watercolor brush bristles and why they matter, and talk about a few of the brush types that I own. Let's get started. Welcome to my studio. My name's Chris, and this channel is all about tips, tools, and tutorials for growing in watercolor. So here's my collection of watercolor brushes. As you can see, the bristles of the various brushes are of a wide variety of colors and shapes. And if you could pick them up and run them through your hand, you would also discover they differ by softness or relative stiffness of the brush bristles. All of these variables make a huge difference in the way a brush performs when you're painting in watercolor. The first thing to know is that watercolor brush bristles can be made from either the natural hair of animals, like weasels, squirrels, goats, ox, or horses. They can also be synthetic, man-made fibers that are manufactured to perform like the natural hairs they are named after. So be aware in this video, if I refer to a squirrel hair brush like this one, for example, the features I'm describing can apply to either natural or synthetic bristles. If you'd like to learn more about the differences between natural and synthetic brushes, check out my free online course, Getting Started in Watercolor. In that free course, I share what I've learned over the years about brush types, styles, shapes, and sizes. I also give you my recommendations for a few brushes that are great for the artist just getting started in watercolor. Okay, let's talk about a few of the most common types of watercolor bristles and highlight the features and uses of each. The Sable brush, and especially the Kolinsky sable, is considered one of the most prized bristle types among watercolor brushes. However, the interesting thing to know is that the bristles of a sable brush are actually not from a sable, but from weasels. The Kolinsky sable hair is from the Siberian weasel and is very rare and expensive. In addition to these expensive natural hair fibers, there are many manufacturers that are creating high-quality synthetic brushes that are made to mimic the sable or weasel hair. I highly recommend you check them out. These sable brush bristles are excellent for watercolor because they're made from very fine hairs that come to a very fine point, like you see here. They quickly return back to their original fine point even after pressure is applied. This is referred to the snap of the brush. These types of brush bristles provide a high level of control, higher than other types of bristles, because of their relative stiffness and snappiness. These types of bristles, especially in the round style of brush, like you see here, are among the most common types of brushes used by watercolor artists. Watercolor brushes made from squirrel hair are also very common. The first thing you'll notice when you touch the bristles of a natural or synthetic squirrel hair brush is how soft and flexible the brush head is. These brushes are known to not hold their shape in the same way as sable-style brushes, and for some people, this is a reason to avoid them. However, I argue that this softness just makes them a wonderful companion to the stiffer bristle brushes. In other words, you would do well to have both soft and stiff brushes in your watercolor supplies. Some squirrel hair brushes are designed to come to a fine point, while others have more of a rounded point. They hold tons of water and can be among the thirstiest of bristle types, which makes them excellent for painting big washes with the fewest of brush strokes. The bristles of goat hair brushes, like this big mop brush, are typically white in color, but they can also come in different colors. The bristles are very soft and hold lots of water. They don't tend to come to a fine point, as you can see here, like other bristle types, but their thirstiness makes them great for big washes and skies in landscape paintings. You can also purchase brushes which feature coarse hair, like this Chinese rabbit hair brush. I like having a couple brushes like this in my kit when I want to create more random organic shapes like treetops and foliage in landscape. These brushes definitely don't come to a fine point. The bristles are much more rough. They're not made for fine detail work, but rather for expressive brush strokes and irregular marks. I could go on and talk about ox hair, pony hair, and other bristle types, but the types of bristles I've just reviewed, in particular the sable and the squirrel hair, represent the majority of bristle types that are most commonly used by watercolor artists today. So if you're confused by all the varieties, do yourself a favor and focus on these two tried and true types of bristles. If you want to know more about the types of brushes I recommend and the various shapes and sizes of brushes, then take a look at my free online course, Getting Started in Watercolor. I'll leave the link to that course in the description below. This course is designed for those fairly new to watercolor who are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all the options in watercolor supplies and materials. In the course, I cover not just brushes, but watercolor paper and paints and palettes, and I also show you how I set up my creative space. I made this course to answer all the questions that I had when I started painting in watercolor years ago. Please check it out on my website, studio.chrisdebruin.com. In this video, I'd like to ask you to also add a comment below and answer this question. Which brush bristle type do you prefer for watercolor? Do you use squirrel hair or a sable type of brush? Goat hair? Some other type of brush I didn't mention in this video? Do you have a combination of different brush bristle types and do you use them differently? If so, let us know. It's very helpful and instructive to others to hear what people are using in their watercolor practice. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day and keep on painting.